Hands up if you've had to resort to an iron off the tee just to stay in play. Hands up if your 5-wood goes just as far as well your driver. And lastly, hands up if you don't want to spend near £400 to help these problems. Drive for show and putt for dough is a great analogy for the best golfers in the world. For the average golfer that spends most of his time off the tee, well, kind of doing that, putting doesn't seem as well significant. So the big question is, will the blend of these two different types of clubs help you as a golfer? And more importantly, give you an answer with why it will help so much. Because if you can fix those problems, then surely it means that you can start using this again. Because don't get it twisted, this is the longest club in the game for good reason. Now, before I cover my bargain choices when it comes to the mini driver, I do want to cover the two types of golfers that benefit most from this type of club. Golfer A being very much like myself, quite a lot of club head speed. However, the bad shot definitely outweighs the reward if I do catch one down the middle. Player B having a bit less club head speed, and if you give that player a 5-wood, a 7-wood, they are laughing when it comes to dispersion, but they want more distance, because more distance off the tee means less club into the green, which surely is going to help their stats. Mini drivers are gaining in hype, and I'll tell you why that'll probably be a bad thing towards the end of the video, or good thing, depending on how you look at it. However, here's my test subjects today, and even though this will be one of my choices at the end of the video, I'm just quite happy in 2024 I've been able to find these two alongside each other. 50 gram stiff flex 9.5 degree aero burner. Let's be honest, retail wise, 60, 70 pounds, something like that. And then the 14 degree aero burner mini driver, which is considerably more, just down to pure scarcity. Again, stiff flex, but in a 60 gram shaft instead. Golfer A, i.e. my swing. 5 shots with the driver, 5 shots with the mini driver. Let's see what the difference is. Now, averaging 270 off the tee with relatively tight dispersion, let's be honest, I can't be mad at. Tell you what, for 70 quid, you can't really go wrong with this thing. Here's what you need to know. Obviously that yellow dot was an aero burner, I forgot to change the color. But if we're talking left to right dispersion, if not front to back as well, obviously the aero burner won. Why, you might ask? Well, it's because it's got so much more spin, especially helping me when I leave the club face too open or even too closed. But just like everything in golf, you can't have the best of both worlds. So obviously that's as much as I can get with the mini driver, and obviously a considerable amount of more distance with the driver. Not to mention the aero burner driver's longer in shaft, so obviously I've got more club head speed, and to be fair, efficiency wise, both of them very similar to each other. Now for this test, evidently the aero burner driver was going much further. That won't be necessarily the case in a minute. But it's very important for you guys that swing a lot faster to know why you're that much more inconsistent with a driver than, let's say, your 5-wood or even your longer irons. And it's because you have the same problem that I do, and sadly it's not going to make your good shot any better, but it makes your bad shot a lot more consistent. The goal of the best in the world is to basically stop the amount of hand rotation, club face rotation through impact. So under those extremely high pressure moments when your heart's racing, you're gripping the thing for dear life, that smooth, easy tempo you use on a 9 holes Friday afternoon, all of a sudden becomes this or this. And sadly for you and myself, at 120 miles an hour, that's a really big mishit. And I'll tell you how you can solve that flipping issue. However, shorter length in shaft, easier to find the middle of the face, also potentially easier to square that face up. Not to mention the majority of people that swing quite fast drop this club on the inside do it too much, very much like myself, and then get stuck. So very much like this. Hence the last minute bit of that. Again, the mini driver could be good for you because you could just tee it low. And if you tee it low and essentially try and hit it off the deck, well, you'll want to come more out to in and you'll want to hit more down on it. Therefore, have some space, not thrust towards the ball. And again, reduce that flipping of the hands. Alternatively, you guys that do the opposite, that come too far over the top, club face open, guess what? You have to stand up and you have to flip your hands again to time that shot well. And as I said, if you time that flipping correctly, you can hit a good shot and you can have a good 9 holes, 18 holes, a week. But the whole point of getting the face in the right place at the top of the swing, getting that club on plane, means that from this position, the best in the world can just turn towards the target, reducing the amount of this. This is me for the last 13 years, and with the help in here practicing a lot, I'm now changing that. It doesn't mean I can't drop it from in here and I can't get on the inside. It just means that my timing has to be perfect. When playing by myself, warmed up in the evening, it works quite well. Tournament pressure, however, that was always my biggest flaw. Right, for you guys that can't hit your driver whatsoever, can't get it off the deck. If you do, it goes massively right. Here's where loft is your friend and why you love a fairway wood opposed to your driver. Now, I must stress technique, and I will show you in a second how much technique can play a part in your game, but I try to swing these relatively similar. Obviously, it's not my normal swing, but as you can see, around 100 miles an hour, and I did feel from that position, I was able to create more speed with the aero burner driver. Maybe because when I was trying to square the face up, it was lighter, shorter, just easier to produce that kind of cut fade that I'm not used to. Again, tried to hit down on it, which is the big issue with a lot of people that struggle with their driver. And typically if you're hitting a lot down on it, you're probably coming quite a bit from over the top. Now, obviously a 12-degree driver would also help this golfer, as well as a regular flex shaft. But from all accounts, I wanted to exaggerate my point. Extremely low spin and low launch isn't a great combination, mainly because of your carry distance, and for a lot of you guys in the winter, that is going to destroy you, opposed to something a bit higher lofted. Not to mention the lower the backspin off your club, even though, don't get me wrong, that is optimal for a driver, does mean any side spin on the ball does mean that you're going to have a lot more curvature. And even though I kept the dispersion relatively similar for both, it just means, well, if you hit out to the right, especially with the driver, it will end up going further right. And as you notice with those swings, I was releasing the club with the grip and the elbow pointing very much to the left, meaning that if I release the club from this position here, then it's going to be down and steep and notoriously open. Well, I want you to get used to pointing the grip this way with this nice L shape. Face that club down, all of a sudden you get into out. And on a better plane and a better path at a similar speed, let's say 100 miles an hour, 99.9. Same club head speed, but now we're hitting up, even though that's a bit exaggerated and obviously dropped the spin a bit too much. But again, 273 versus 230, even though that club head has traveled the same speed. The point is, this for me is a stopgap. However, for a lot of us, whether it's your hands flipping, early extension, not getting enough launch on the golf ball, and potentially overall confidence, no wonder you want a mini driver, but let me give you some cheaper alternatives. Now, these prices may change in the future, which I'll explain in a minute, because let's be honest, TaylorMade's the only manufacturer that's been making a mini driver, which means the SLDR and the Aero Burner mini driver, I'll leave prices up here on the right hand side, range from £60 to £100. Auction, they go for less. Buy it now, basically £100. However, the 14 degree and stiff flex for that faster player, it gives you enough spin that's going to help those off-center shots. For that slower club head speed player, 14 degrees reg flex, or even 16 degrees that these actually came in, especially if you just can't get the driver off the ground. This thing is very close to the more recent additions from TaylorMade. 300, meaning that is 300cc. These were more like 270. 275, somewhere around there. So it's larger, it's more forgiving, but then again, trying to hit that off the deck, which they say they kind of fix. For me, you can't have the best of both worlds, but I see what they've done. They want to add more distance and more forgiveness to this. However, this could be the last time I say mini drivers will actually hold their price well, with so many more manufacturers rumoring to enter the market, with Callaway definitely with their new Callaway AI Smoke mini driver. Either way, the two golf clubs that I recommend earlier, I feel like are sound investments, and I don't think you're going to lose a lot of money on it, especially if it helps with what I've just shown you there. Any questions on your golf bag or golf game, sasgolfacademy.com. Catch you guys later.